For a lot of people, I'd say once you found like the 3 or 4 steroids that suit you best, and you found like the foods that you like the best, that work for you the best, and you found the way of training that you like, and it's producing results that you like, you don't necessarily have to learn any more. You can just keep doing what you know and what works for you.
There's people, they just don't have the experience, and they're going out there trying to teach people stuff that they haven't actually lived or learned themselves, if you know what I mean.
I think some people will always like be dissatisfied with the results and always want more when they should be grateful for what they've got. And I do know that this whole realm does like have a lot of people with body dysmorphia in it, and I would never really
100%.
want to like feed into or encourage that. Probably manipulating hormones should start with steroids, not SARMs, not research chemicals. A lot of beginners will go down those routes basically because they're scared of needles and scared of the taboo of steroids. But you know, the first outing on hormones should probably be testosterone and maybe 1 or 2 other steroids. The only really big jumps forward are like the first time you do a set diet with your hard training, the first time you do like a real steroid cycle, but then the first time you sort of move on to insulin, I'd say they're the big jumps.
Alright, what is happening, my peeps? We're here today with my boy Sam. What's happening, Sam, brother? You alright?
Yeah. I've been looking
Sam.
forward to this.
How you doing, you right? Good, yeah.
Right, yeah, so Sam is an online coach. He basically eats, lives, breathes, sleeps this shit. He loves the gym probably more than me, which says a lot. Yeah, Sam, tell us a little bit about what you do, bro.
Well, basically, I kind of discovered this job by accident because I'd always kind of coached myself. I'd done 13 competitions. I've loved bodybuilding since the first time I touched some weights when I was about 16 years old. When I had those shit concrete ones, like from Argos, I had them in the garage and had to go with them.
The plastic case.
Those, yeah, I had those when I was a teenager, and then I got a gym membership. And I was crap at team sports, but I was all right at gym stuff, and I fell in love with it. Listened to music while I'm training, and I've loved that, for over 20 years now. And I didn't really realise that coaching was a thing because I'd just done all my own reading and learning, like year by year, bit by bit as I'd gone. And then when I started doing competitions and started having some contest wins, and people were saying, "Well, who's your coach?" I was like, "What are you talking about?" And then people got to know me in this gym. Basically here, people like Jim Giorgio and stuff like that, when they got to know me, they were like, with the knowledge that you built up, you could be a top coach one day. And I didn't really think much of it because I still didn't understand like this side. For me, this is just what I love doing. It was never an industry I'd learned about or anything like that. But then that just kind of echoed in my mind, and I thought, oh shit, yeah, like people make a really good living doing this and can help people and really enjoy it. And so I just gradually got started, and it turns out that I do now enjoy coaching more than like my own physique stuff because it's creating like, a change in someone's life for them. I think for the time that you put into this hobby and what you get out of it, there's nothing better than this in the world because you have to eat meals anyway. So it's not more time to make them the right ones. And if you're training hard, you might be training like 6 hours a week, say, if you're training hard for maximum results. But, if you wanted to be amazing as a musician, say, you'd have to practice 6 hours a day minimum, not 6 hours a week. So in terms of like what you put into this and what you get out of it, I don't think there's anything better. And I like improving people's lives by, guiding them through that process.
And I think it's very important to mention as well, your journey, your sort of path to where you've got now, I think that is the only sort of genuine path to get there, because at the moment, there's like a bit of I won't say at the moment, but I've noticed it sort of progressively through the years now, we're getting a bit of an issue with people who are just popping up as like online coaches.
Well, there's nothing to stop you doing it, but for me, that it was never actually my goal. It's like this job kind of chose me rather than me trying to like, force a square peg into a round hole trying to do this job.
This is what I mean. You've sort of like lived this journey yourself, like,
yeah.
But there's people popping up as coaches where they haven't really lived it. They might have done a level 1, 2 and 3 PT course, and then all of it.
Loads of the information is either irrelevant or wrong in terms of actual results people want. That's a bit controversial to say, but that's how I feel.
This is what I'm saying. There's people, they just don't have the experience, and they're going out there trying to teach people stuff that they haven't actually lived or learned themselves, if you know what I mean. It's like almost secondhand knowledge or something.
This is your vocation, basically.
This is what I'm saying. You are teaching the shit that you have lived yourself, from your own experiences.
Yeah, and that's
you haven't just read a book, have you? You've lived it and done it, and you've read a book.
I've lived it for at least 20 years. But that's something that's hard to get across to clients, because they want the same kind of end result of me in like sort of 20 months or 20 weeks, or even in some cases they feel like they should have those sorts of rapid results in sort of 20 days, and it's like it's not like that. And the other thing is, this is a real lifestyle. In a way, you shouldn't be so rushed for trying to race through all of this, because just to maintain the result you've got to do something pretty similar. So you have to love the process, because to maintain 100%. It, you're stuck doing it forever anyway. So
there is no, I always tell people, there is no sort of like quick route in this game. There is no magic potion. We'll get onto steroids and all of that.
Yeah, there is a bit of a magic potion.
It's not a magic potion. There really isn't a magic potion.
I think what happens is there's a number of plateaus on the journey. And breaking through each plateau involves like some new methods that you've never done before. And then that's a bit of a jump forwards. But the only really big jumps forward are like the first time you do a set diet with your hard training, the first time you do like a real steroid cycle, but then the first time you sort of move on to insulin, I'd say they're the big jumps in progress. But it's not like one of those will get you to your ideal goal quickly. It's just like another method that you've learned and have to learn to manage.
Could you explain those steps? Actually, you said the first step is
so the route through this is a journey. Like no one starts learning about hopefully no one starts learning about steroids before they learn about lifting. So there's too much to learn. There's too much to learn in one go or at the same time. So the usual route through this is like someone will go to the gym and dabble for a bit first, and they notice that their body gets a little bit firmer and looks a little bit better, but nothing radical happens.
And that can be over the space of
for some people,
a few years.
It could be, depending on how into it they are. Yeah. They might kind of reach that stage and plateau after a few months if they've been really into it. And then the next thing they should probably learn about and apply is nutrition. And so probably the first principles they get in place with that, if they're doing the right thing, is they take a conscious approach to how much protein they eat and move to whole foods and stuff like that. And then their physique sort of upgrades a little bit more over the next 6 months. And so that's kind of how it goes typically.
What about the insulin thing? That's the most one I was interested in. What does that mean? Because I don't even know what that is.
One of the major hormones.
Yeah,
it's possibly the most anabolic hormone, I would say. I think when someone isn't getting any bigger, despite however much food they can put in and however much steroids they can handle without intolerable side effects or reckless with their health, they're at a plateau where the next big breakthrough would be insulin.
Oh, so you take more insulin and it basically makes you bigger.
Yeah, it's almost like having a dial for how big you want to be. But again, you can't just like anything. You can't just make it up as you go along. You've got to understand what you're doing.
I think it's very important to measure. You were saying there is basics, and then there's like levels up from it. And what a lot of people mess up in their gym journey, and I'm sure probably everyone has at some point, is they haven't really fully grasped the basics. And the basics for me is like the 3 foundations of bodybuilding.
I'd say the foundations is like heavy, hard training, mostly with free weights, and avoiding all of the sissy stuff, which is what a lot of beginners will gravitate to more. And then like solid nutrition with diet, with whole foods, with complete essential nutrients, including all the micronutrients and stuff like that, and then like lifestyle and recovery and good sleep. Rest, I'd say that's the absolute like bedrock foundation.
Yeah.
Once you reach a plateau, having sincerely applied all of that for a couple of years, you're in the best position possible to start moving into steroids. Basically, it should probably manipulating hormones should start with steroids, not SARMs, not research chemicals. A lot of beginners will go down those routes basically because they're scared of needles and scared of the taboo of steroids. But the first outing on hormones should probably be testosterone and maybe one or two other steroids, in my opinion.
I agree. But yeah, it's like the basics. People don't really fully grasp that before they try to move up and add other factors to that.
It's going to get very risky and very complicated if you started throwing in like growth hormone, insulin, steroids, all sorts of different foods and research chemicals all in one go with no rhyme or reason. That's going to be extremely risky.
But like the results they expect, because if they're doing it too early, they're almost using it as like a magic potion, and it doesn't actually work like that. I always like to look at them, and I think you might have mentioned this before, like an amplifier. They amplify your existing efforts, and if you haven't got those three basic principles like on smash, they're not going to amplify it. You're not going to get the most out of it. So
but most people that are hobbyists they don't look at it so methodically because they're not so analytical, they're not so goal driven, they're not really so into it. It's just more of a hobby thing. So in the same way that if you go to like a skate park or a festival, there'll be people like smoking weed, but they're not exactly experts about it. Or if you go to a rave, there'll be like people on pills and stuff like that, and they haven't really given it much of a second thought. If you go into a hardcore gym, there's just people that take steroids and don't really, they just don't really think anything of it.
They're having it like a pre-workout drink or something. That's
the real life version of what goes on. I mean, the real life version of what goes on is someone gets talking to someone in the gym, and they just like buy a tub of D-bol off them and hope for the best. That's what happens in the real world.
Throw a few tablets down the throat.
That's what happens in the real world. Not all of the kind of better understand PCT first. Look, I think you should understand, and I think you should do it methodically. But I still understand that real life it plays out more like other arenas of people enjoying substances that are mixed in with hobbies, doesn't it?
A lot of people don't know. I've talked to a lot of people about steroids, and a lot of people didn't even know that PCTs existed. When they first did their cycles, so it is information.
Well, they didn't exist in the golden era, and they all lived to tell the tale. So I don't think that they're like. I think it's maybe overkill to think that you're going to really, 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 really interfere with yourself if you do one cycle that's reasonably dosed with no PCT. I think you'd probably be all right. Don't quote me on that.
I don't know. I did that. I did not a very good PCT, and I come off and I was a bit down. Not down like that, but like
everyone is different.
I needed to do a proper PCT, and I did a PCT, but I did a mild one, and it weren't for me. I needed to do a stronger one.
I think some of the PCT drugs make you feel not that great. Like most people feel like it's like you're taking. That's the point. Yeah, like you're taking this PCT to feel better, but then the drugs that involve don't really make you feel that great. Like Clomid, I just sort of felt like when I was in the days of cycle and PCT, it was like. Do you like metal music?
No, I definitely don't.
Okay,
my least favourite.
Yeah, some of my audience love metal music, but it's kind of like being on cycle every day is like being on cycle is having like Pantera playing in the background like all day every day. Being on PCT is like crying about Dimebag Darrell every day.
It is different.
I prefer a blast and cruise like where I'm at now.
What is that?
It's where you never come off, but you sort of oscillate between a maintenance dose and a progress dose.
Is that not dangerous? Is that not dangerous?
Well, my interpretation of things is that being on a maintenance dose with just testosterone is more healthy than using like Clomid, Nolvadex, HCG and turning your hormones up and down, fluctuating and doing a sort of 2 steps forward, 1 step back approach continually with your physique. So
but you've got to remember that.
It depends. I'd never tell someone which they ought to do. I'd just say the pros and cons of each approach and why I do what I do.
You got to remember that they are synthesized hormones, and it's a synthesized version of something your body naturally, indigenously produces itself. So you're putting in, when it's the cruise, for example, we're talking about, you're putting in a similar, probably maybe a slightly more amount that your body would naturally produce in that period of.
What is your cruising fixed, maintenance amount? How much do you do?
300 milligrams testosterone.
And how much, in comparison with your body? Yeah, how much would your body produce?
Of course, but I'm trying to maintain a body that's unnaturally muscular, more muscular.
Are you maintaining for the size that you have?
Yeah.
What is the natural amount that your body would produce if
the equivalent to 100 milligrams a week would be more like. But it would vary from person to person.
Exactly.
But that would be more a realistic ballpark of what a natural level compared to an outside dose would be like.
And I think it's important to mention as well, men's natural production levels have been declining quite a lot over the years. If you compare data to what we had, I don't know, like 50, 60 years ago to now, to age groups now, they've declined. Men's testosterone levels are declining. I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of
What age
things.
groups are they measuring? Like they're measuring like young people. You're talking about
If you go and take a blood test, they give you like the range, what you should be within like a normal range or outside of the normal range. Like, and if you compare, you know, what the normal range was to, I don't know, I'm in my 30s still, just about. And if you compare what my range would have been, say, 50 years ago, an average 30, you know, someone in their 30s to now is different. The goalposts have moved.
Oh wow. Why do you think? You know what?
There's a lot of things, man. There's a lot of things. You know, you can
Environmental factors like
water. You know, like in the tap water, there's
Food,
female
everything.
hormones in the tap water right now.
Yeah, food, everything.
Yeah, food, plastics. There's so many things.
And maybe because everything was just a bit more hype back in the day. You know, there was a bit more competition. There's a bit more shit to get your blood boiling, if you know what I mean. We live in a peaceful time, innit?
Yeah, I think there was probably less stress. We lived in a much more natural environment where there wasn't a lot of processed foods back then. There were, you know, we didn't have a lot of shit.
Well, you look at the ways to kind of increase your natural testosterone. They're all kind of like the things that we'd be doing anyway with the bodybuilding lifestyle, with the foundation stuff that we were talking about 10 minutes ago. You know, it's like good sleep, whole food, like, you know.
That's what I'm saying. Indeed, people try to really overcomplicate shit these days.
It sort of irks me that everyone feels like they need to be on TRT right now. It's like, no, just be healthy.
Get the basics first, man.
Get the basics, do that. And if you want to go beyond that, you shouldn't be ashamed to admit that really you want to be on steroids.
Yeah, there's another big issue with that as well.
TRT.
Was it the fake natties? There's so many of them these days, isn't it?
It's very fun to be on steroids though. Like outside of the bodybuilding and stuff like that. I'm sorry, that's from my perspective with it. I like being on it. Like I would love to.
What was your favourite steroids?
My favourite steroids.
Go on, Mr.
Well, first of all, it's funny that you're
Tremboloni
saying, oh yeah, of course, trend. But yeah, but my favourite cycle that I ever did was probably when you made me do that diet, and then I did sus, bold, and what's the other one that usually goes with it?
Oh, I hate Boldenone.
Masked.
Was it sus, bold, and massive?
Yeah, it was so
I hate
sick.
Boldenone. That's literally the only one that I don't like is Boldenone Equipoise.
I don't even know what it is.
What's your reason for not liking
man,
it?
do you know
Blood pressure? Or?
No. I was just very like bad
Appetite.
low mood, anxiety kind of thing. And what I think was the cause of that is that I don't feel too good with lowered estrogen, which Boldenone can take your E2 down. And it's the only one that didn't suit me. All the others I really like. So never again. EQ, never again.
What about trend?
I like Tren. I like it. I like.
What was the last time you was on it?
Who the fuck doesn't like
at the start of this year? But I only do like one proper trend cycle per year because it's probably more unhealthy for you than all the other injectables. So if you're looking after kidney health, I think you should probably have a limit on how many and how long your trend cycles are. So for me, it's sort of a pre-contest essential. But
which ester of trend is your favourite?
Either. If I had to get ready for a contest and I wanted to put it in just as the finishing touches, I'd use trenacetate for the last 2 to 3 weeks, and that would be it. The rest of the time, when I have been using it while growing, it's just more convenient to high dose it by doing trenacetate. So either of those is good, I think. But
do you like the hexahydrobenzyl carbonate, the parabolin ester?
Yes, I have used it.
What is that?
It's another ester.
Yeah, he used the full word for it. But you'll see it on the market called like Trenhex.
Or parabolin.
Is that new?
No.
Parabolin.
Well, parabolin.
No, that was actually, I think, the very first one that ever came out.
Really?
Yeah, when it was like 86 point something milligrams per
76,
something crazy like that. Yeah, that was the brand name. The brand name for it.
It was for cows.
Is it a quick one or a slow one?
That's a slower one.
It's a very, very slow one. Yeah.
I've never actually done the slow one. Do you know that? I've only done the quick one. The acetate.
It's probably better off for your average person to do the fast acting ones.
Yeah, that's what I think. When I coach people, if you're going to explore a new drug that may not suit them, I prefer
I
to
don't
get
like calling it
in.
drugs. Sorry to cut in. We don't call them drugs in here. They're synthesized hormones.
No, I mean, well, you're quite right. Actually, the word drug is just a propaganda word. There's no such thing.
It demonises the whole thing, doesn't it?
Any substance that you put into your body can change like the feelings in your mind and your body.
Exactly.
So like the things that are referred to as drugs are just things that tend to do that more quickly or potently.
Yeah.
So but there's no clear definition of what the boundary between a nutrient and a drug is.
Yeah.
So it's just like a slur word calling something a drug.
That's why
yes,
I don't like
that's
using it.
Yeah, fair. I prefer like the approach of using the short ester, the faster working one when someone's not used a particular hormone before, because then they can establish whether it suits them or not and get in and out quickly. The thing is, with my experience with Equiport is, it didn't start feeling rough until about 2 months in, but you're kind of committed to that because it really takes at least 6 or 7 weeks to reach stable peak blood concentrations to do it. So you've wasted like 2 or 3 months on something that doesn't suit you. Whereas if I'd had like boldenone acetate, which does exist, but it's harder to find, I could have realised that it didn't really suit me after like 3 or 4 weeks rather than 3 or 4 months. So that's a good approach.
And also if you run into trouble as well, a lot of people run into trouble with Tren, like bad side effects or whatever.
Yeah, I've never had the bad sides from Tren. It suits me.
Me neither. But there is people that have
personal,
and very regularly get quite bad side effects from it. And if you do run into trouble with Tren, it's much better to be on a shorter ester because it
Well, do you know you say
phases
that
out a lot quicker.
I feel like the long esters and the short esters, they feel different. Anyway,
They're the
You're not getting
exact
that?
same thing. The only
But don't
difference
you ever
is
feel like they just feel different?
They can. Your body can metabolize it differently, and
Yeah.
it have a different result for you depending. Yeah.
Prop don't work on me, but like a sust or something, like a proper.
Sustanon should have testosterone propionate
there's
in
prop
it.
in it anyway.
Yeah, I know, but let's
think
just talk
a
about the normal one. Was it an unfate?
What do you mean the normal one? They're
The
just
main one.
Yeah.
To be fair, I know what you mean.
Yeah,
I would
exactly.
regard testosterone and phase as the main one.
Testosterone main one.
NFA is probably the most commonly
popular.
used
Yeah.
form of
That
testosterone
hits
in
me
Europe.
different.
In
than
America,
prop.
it seems to be cypionate, but yeah.
Prop I can take more than I take of an unfate. Of
course you can, because there's less of it.
No, but it will not hit me like that.
You know what the reason why
Well,
is?
it's the concentration. It's 100 milligrams per milliliter.
Yeah, and you're
rather
probably
than
not taking it
250,
often enough.
300,
For
yeah.
prop, if you're just using prop on its own, you need to
Daily.
be taking it, pretty much daily.
Yeah, I
And
think
if not daily, it needs to be every other day. But even every other day, if you look at your sort of levels on a graph, you'll be sort of bouncing up and down a little bit like that.
Oh, I love a little kickstart or a little extra
Oh, yeah,
test
prop.
prop. Like
Prop's
you'll know about it in a week. Like if you're dosing it daily and properly.
Even it should be before a week, but yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, you probably wasn't doing it regularly enough. Was you doing it every day?
Maybe
No.
every other.
Every other.
Yeah. Do it do 100
4
milligrams
times a day.
Well, do 1 mil, 100 milligrams like every day.
I probably won't do another cycle ever again.
Okay. Suit yourself.
I don't. You know what? Listen, I was doing it for hype. So the kicks.
more for me.
You see all the things you was talking about, like you're not taking it seriously. People that are messing about. I was one of the guys that was just pissing about of it. I was just doing it for no real reason. Like I'm chatting
But
shit. By the way,
you did it. You got
I done
fucking
alright, yeah.
amazing results.
I did.
You and on top of that, you probably got your. I'm not saying your life wasn't together, but you got your life together kind of through that, don't you?
What's that supposed to mean?
It's not the gear. It's just that when
fuck
you
is that supposed to
most
mean?
people when they take start a cycle, whether it's their first, second, or whatever, they kind of like to organize their life a little bit better. So they start with their training and their diet and
I suppose,
whatever,
yeah.
and then it kind of goes on from that into other areas of their life. They start off just things start tidying itself.
I was
up in
chatting
their
shit.
life.
I'm 100% gonna do a cycle again. I was just
I know
chatting
you
shit.
was.
I just want to see you lot's reaction. No, but like obviously not right now. I think.
Hey, I learned something actually. Like it's totally harmless if you just do one cycle,
Yeah.
and it's only one cycle if you never come off.
Fair enough.
I like that one. Yes.
Yeah, I might do that the next one. I might do that for my next
That's a
one.
good one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I was probably worried about like heart stuff and kidney stuff and stuff.
Yeah,
like that. You always
that's
hear about
okay.
that.
So I think you should probably get an echocardiogram, a heart scan every
Once a year.
1 year to 2 years.
Depending how often your cycle is.
Yeah, you should do that, and you should probably get like blood work after every heavy cycle, and look
When
at
would you do it after the cycle? Would you do it if they're doing a PCT? That is, would you do it at the end of the PCT, like a month after the PCT, 2 months after?
I would do it. I would do it all like after to see where we've settled down to, because a lot of these values and markers will go up quite naturally, like as being on the cycle, and that's kind of you're going into the cycle expecting that. What you really want to be testing is there any residual or long term damage like left. So I sort of think that 6 to 8 weeks after a heavy cycle, and that's either 6 to 8 weeks after your PCT, or 6 to 8 weeks into the cruise. If you're cruising and stuff like that, you should get the full blood work done.
I totally agree.
Pay particular attention to like EGFR, like, because your kidneys aren't going to reheal and repair themselves as well as your liver like would do, I'd say. Because for the heart, the main thing I'd say would be like the echocardiogram.
Yeah.
For the kidneys, the main thing would be like the EGFR on the blood work and stuff, and then you're looking like ALT, AST, like on the liver values on the blood work, and then kind of everything else is, that's the order of importance, and then trails down from there, in my view.
Yeah, no, 100%. But then obviously importance depends on what people's sort of life goals are. Because you could get some people, you know, they want to have children at some point. So then they'll be looking at maybe FSH, LH, those hormones. Those particular hormones, they take a very long time to get back to sort of normal levels after a cycle.
Yeah,
this is true. Yeah. But then, then that's all, you know, that's another, you know, offshoot of goals and what to do about it. And you're looking at HCG and FSH, you know, using that exogenously to get back to fertility like quicker if you're coming off. And, you know, maybe if it were me, I'd probably work with a specialist to achieve that.
100%.
If I was going to do that.
This is almost non-existent, though.
It's almost non-existent, but I know how it would be approached. It would be like HC. Okay, if you don't know, that's human chorionic gonadotrophin, and then follicle-stimulating hormone. Those would be like the main ingredients to getting back to fertility. Yeah, which could be, you know,
acquired. Would be within HMG.
Yeah, yeah. You know, that would be the approach, but you know, that's not something that I've learned so much about or have first-hand experience with, because I haven't started trying to have a family. Yeah, at the moment, I'm just enjoying like my own methods of contraception and not bothering with condoms.
Pulling out. Who pulls out, man?
Yeah. So, yeah, you were saying before about, you know, the journey and having lived it and everything like that. That's not something that I can say to the family planning aspects of using these hormones and stuff like that. And I freely admit that. I know what I would research more, and it would be those things we just mentioned. That's if I was going to do that, but I wasn't looking to start a family just now, so I haven't looked.
And that's all the good signs of a good coach, because he's just honest. If the knowledge and experience isn't there, you just say
I just want to like be real about it and help people. If someone came to me and said that their number one goal was like, you know, their number one objective was getting off of hormones, getting fertility back, and starting a family, I'll probably ask around for someone to pass them on to. You know, I don't want to sign people up if I can't help them. So that's why I'm doing that situation. But I haven't had anyone come to me like saying that, because none of my content talks about that. My content just talks about getting really big or really shredded. So like they tend to be guys where that's the main thing they want.
Yeah. The biggest regret I ever had was not taking a blood test before I actually put any sort of steroid in my body. I wish I did just do a blood test to see where my levels were naturally. Because I don't know, there was something weird with my hormones, because whenever I come off of it, I was fucked for time. And then coming back, going off and then coming back, I never felt like I fully... In fact, I'm recovered now, but it took about 2 years or something like that. It took ages. I just wish I did a test before.
That's quite common.
The guy who started me off, he didn't tell me to do a test, so I was like, I wish I knew.
You're just taking the piss out of the guy who started you off.
He's a proper dickhead. Joking. Nah, but yeah, I don't know. I think that's important. I think it's important to see where your hormones are at.
It's useful, but you know, like I can't make every client like get blood work like all the time. I just sort of tell them what the pros and cons are, like and you know, risk tolerance and stuff like that.
I just think before you start a cycle, you should see where your natural hormone levels are, because I feel like I don't know. I feel like when my testosterone's up, I'm a different person to how I am when my testosterone's down. And to get back to that middle ground where I was, that who I am, is like, it's a difficult thing if you don't know where it is, kind of thing. I know that sounds mad, but like...
I know. I sort of think sometimes people like overemphasize or get lost in the numbers a little bit, though, because at the end of the day, it's all about how you feel. You know, if I put it this way, if like say steroids weren't in the question, I was just looking at my blood work for, you know, natural health and natural hormone levels, you know, what would I rather have? Would I rather have like the numbers on a test be like a few numbers out of a theoretical reference range, but feel perfect in myself day to day, or like have the numbers fit neatly within a predetermined reference range, but I don't feel quite right?
Yeah, I suppose.
So I think sometimes you have to, there's a lot to be said for how you feel and listening to your body as well.
You might be pushing something, you might be trying to like bring something back up with Clomid or something, and it's something else completely different.
But I notice with guys, they get lost in the weeds of like numbers and supplements and hormones and stuff like that. And usually the glaring problem, that the elephant in the room, is that they eat shit, don't have a disciplined sleep schedule, and like aren't like training how they ought to be. And when you
which is the basics,
which is that bedrock again. And once that's fixed, like all of the I don't feel right just kind of disappears. Yeah, that's what I think. Because people aren't disciplined about sleep and good nutrition. They're just not, because they don't find it as interesting as like tinkering with hormones and supplements.
And what the craziest thing is, I think with those three basic principles or elements of bodybuilding, people prioritize the wrong ones, and they don't realize that they're not equal. There is more important things. And in my opinion, I believe training is probably the least important thing to bodybuilding, and people struggle to understand this.
Yeah, and I think sleep is like massively underrated. Like,
I was going to say,
do you guys sleep on cycle though, like easily?
Sleep is.
I remember when I was on cycle, I could never sleep. Like,
well, it's probably the trend, but yeah, sleep, in my opinion, is the most important thing to bodybuilding, because this is a hard concept to grasp. I've said it a million times before, but you're not growing when you're training in the gym. You're not growing when you're eating your food. You're growing when you're sleeping. Yeah. Sleeping, if you ask any, professional bodybuilder, anyone who's, 125 kilograms plus, with a low body fat, low water percentage, you ask them how many hours a night they sleep, and they're all going to tell you it's somewhere around the 8 hours plus mark. Sam has reached them massive, weights before. Tell us about your sleep.
Yeah, so the heaviest I've been is 300 pounds. I documented it. Check out my YouTube. Like, that's like 136 kilos. That's the biggest I got. That was almost a year ago. I put it on YouTube. I called the series Journey to 300 Pounds.
Proper beefcake.
Wow. And I was lifting heavy. I was showing all the workouts in that series on YouTube. It's Physique Philosopher on YouTube, by the way. And
we'll stick all your things in the description for you.
Yeah, and I had real fun. And that was the furthest I got with bulking. But I got stuck like at that point, and I've sort of I've come down in weight from there. So I'm sitting at 260 pounds at the moment. Last time I was on stage, I was 240 pounds. So I'm quite close to like my stage weight again, or something at the moment. But yeah, being 300 pounds, you want to be careful with that, because it can start interfering with sleep when you're that heavy. So I've sort of cranked up the cardio.
Was it the breathing or?
Yeah, breathing. You start getting like symptoms of sleep apnea. So you have to. What I found most effective was doing hard cardio, like almost every day, and it fixed it.
Yeah, strengthening the breathing and your heart. Yeah.
What do you mean the breathing though? What is it, like muscles weighing on your?
Yeah, as a bodybuilder, you can't sleep in any other position than on your back.
Yes,
and your chest weight, your muscles weigh more than any other tissue in the body.
Basically, a human being is not supposed to be 300 pounds, and when you get to 300 pounds, you start realizing like why that is.
But yeah, those muscles when you're sleeping are on top of your lungs, and they're weighing your lungs down throughout the night, and you're ending up, struggling to breathe while you sleep, which is fucking horrible. I tell you that now, it's bloody horrible.
And then when your sleep's like not proper, you feel groggy and not right.
Fucks everything else up during the day. And going back to my point, sleep is probably the most important element of bodybuilding, which people completely struggle to grasp that concept.
Yeah.
Mad.
It's because it's not exciting. Like we want, like exciting stuff. I get that. I'm only human. I'm only human. That like heavy lifting and hardcore like substances is like cool. I get that. I have to admit it. I'm more excited when something weird and wonderful arrives in the post than I am about like bedding down for 8 hours sleep.
I get it. Having 3 children, and then we'll talk about that after sleep.
Yeah.
It's the action movie side of it, though, isn't it? That's what people want. They want the muscles and the iron and the girls lifting your shoulders. You want all of that, innit? You want to go sleep.
Well, you can have all that. You can have all that as your reward when you've mastered your sleep as well, and all the boring stuff as well. You can have all of
very
that.
true words. I tell you that now. Very true. Yeah. But yeah, for me, like I said, sleep is probably the most important element. Training is the least important element. If all you did was eat, a shit ton of good foods, high in protein and carb nutrients and fats, and slept
But
all day,
I love all of it. I love good sleep. I love like interesting chemicals. I love hard training. I love delicious, nutritious food. Like I love the whole thing. That's why I do it. So even though I said training may be the least important part, it's sort of the heart and soul of it. Like the buzz that you get
for
when
me,
you're,
it's the cherry on the top.
hard. Yeah.
Because you remember there's 24 hours in a day, and you only spend like an hour in the gym.
but that should be the highlight of your
But that's
day.
what I'm
like,
saying,
if you're training hard and getting in the zone. No pun intended.
Yeah, love it.
But yeah, like it is a massive dopamine rush to listen to the right music and lift heavy and really go for it and not get distracted and be in the zone.
And killing it.
That's awesome. So I don't want to downplay training.
That's what I'm saying. It's like you're building up to that in the day, aren't you? Because you're spending the 23 hours of the day.
But then to leverage the results out of the excitement of that hour, it needs like nutrition and good sleep and probably some hormones.
Saying if you you're building up to that throughout the day, you're putting in all the nutrients in your body, getting in the sleep, and then the most exciting part of your day is in the gym, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like the pre-production and the post-production.
Yeah.
Then you have the filming. Yeah. Then you have the filming.
Yeah.
The filming's the main bit, but you got a plan. You got to go around it.
It's exactly like that. That's a good analogy. That's exactly like that.
But yeah, we should probably talk a little bit about the least important part of the journey, which is the training. So tell us a little bit about your training, Sam.
I think that
Can I just say one quick thing?
Yeah, man.
Just before we move off. How many hours are you not actually sleeping?
Like when you talk about sleep, when you talk about sleeping, like how many hours are you actually sleeping?
8. Yeah.
And you?
I have 3 children. Yeah, so
19.
I would absolutely love to be able to sleep, like 10 hours a night. But I'm somewhere at the moment. It's probably somewhere between 6 to 8. My training is shit at the moment.
So 8 is the proper amount that you're supposed to get?
Well, it's what I like. I mean, sometimes I'll do a night out and then I'll get really shit or no sleep or something, and then I'll kind of catch up on that over the next 3 days by doing sort of like 9 or 10 hours sleep.
But 8's your standard?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
7 or 8 is like the standard.
Same.
But I'll sometimes go out late and mess it, just having a social
I've always
life
read that
and
men
then
are
catch
like
up with
10 though. Is that anything? Or is that nothing?
I mean, the more you can, the better, bro.
Oh, okay, so I can't. Sorry. Right, anyway, sorry, we're moving on. To the training.
What was we talking about?
Training.
Yeah, training. Okay, yeah. So like I'd say my philosophy with training is that the focus has got to be the harder exercises, the
meat and bones.
Yeah, like I feel like there's too much like isolating things and fiddly little fluff
Instagram
exercises.
techniques.
Yeah, I feel like
hell.
the best exercises are the most old-fashioned and boring, because that's the shit that stood the test of time already. The little variations and shit like that you learnt last week, like no one will be talking about them in 10 years' time.
Trend on
But
Instagram.
things, the proper training stuff is like at least 100 years old.
Yeah.
So we're talking like, I'd say, all the best exercise. Okay, I'll give you my top 10 exercises, like for a good physique. Body weight pull-ups and weighted pull-ups, barbell rows, like dumbbell and barbell incline and flat, but bench pressing and stuff like that. Overhead pressing, dumbbells and barbells, hack squats, barbell squats, leg presses. What else is there?
Come on, let's go throw some arms in there. Some my favourite exercise.
What about rows? Like you said, rows, innit?
No, cool.
No, I'd say what I've just listed is the fundamentals, the best exercises. Yeah. And people will avoid them because they're less confident with free weights, or they feel self-conscious that they don't lift as heavy as other people and stuff like that. But you've got to do the journey. There's no way around. There's no way around the hard work, and those sorts of exercises and similar ones or equivalent ones represent like the hard work, and then everything else like kind of fits in like as and when. And yes, I do isolation stuff for calves and arms and different machines for back and stuff like that. But I just sort of listed what I consider the best and the fundamentals that are sort of the centerpiece of the whole training.
Yeah.
And everything else like is an adjunct to that. in my view. And I feel like for most people, slightly higher rep ranges for the lower body are more effective. I feel that training hard and training to failure is important. I believe that to do a good set means that the last rep you're doing is the very most that you can do with all your force and all your effort. And to be sure that you've achieved that, you should keep going into some partial reps in the end of that set. And that assures that that was a good set. And if you do 3 or 4 sets like that on hard exercises, like day in, day out, you've got good training there.
Yeah. What about rest period in between sets?
I think you're going to get too distracted and too out of the zone for working hard if you're flitting between like a timer and a logbook and all this sort of stuff. I feel like you should just get your breath back. You don't wait so long that the muscle is lost its pump and recovered. Away, yeah. But you wait long enough that you've got your breath back and composed yourself, and then just go again, and there's no need to time it. And that interval of rest is going to be naturally longer for like harder exercises like barbell rows and squatting and stuff like that. And it's going to be shorter, maybe 30 to 40 seconds for things like curls and
shoulder press.
And yeah. So I think that should take care of itself. But I feel like
you don't think you should time it?
No,
I think you see sometimes when something's so hard,
like,
I will psychologically just like be like, oh yeah, let me just wait a minute, and then like just dotting around. If I'm not looking at a timer, I'll put because if I did a hard set before, I might just like take that a little bit extra longer to get back in it. Whereas if I've got time, I got to get back in it.
I'm totally with Sam on that one, man, because the less distractions you have while you're on the dance floor training, the better. I don't even bring my phone. I leave my phone here. I haven't got anything in my pockets. I prefer to train by myself, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm the same.
Literally, just don't be
get in the headspace.
Because you'll look at your phone to do the timer, then a message will pop up, then you think, oh, let me just answer that quickly before my set. Then you fucked your whole workout up. Literally, just like that. And then you think, oh, all right, I might as well take a picture now. Then 10 minutes has passed by, the muscles recovered. Oh, fucking hell, let's leave the gym now.
No, I just had
you get much more intense and pleasurable workouts by like staying in the headspace and just blasting through it.
That's it. Just leave the tripod out of it, leave the phone out of it. Just come and enjoy the fucking workout, man.
Yeah, and if before you start that workout, there's a little bit of test suspension and maybe some Halo. Maybe some metal music playing, like put all that together. You've got the perfect recipe for hitting it,
I was with you until the metal music. But
I just get distracted too easily. Someone come over to me, and if it was a hard set, I might be like, yeah, did you watch the thing yesterday? And they'll chat for like half an hour and forget.
I know that's what.
I need that time off.
People are just being friendly, but the thing is, because everyone knows me here now, like everyone does like come for a chat, so it's hard for me to avoid it.
But if you've got the time, you go, sorry, and you just get back on with it.
That's the worst part for me about fucking trying to train in this gym is like, I don't think I've ever had a workout where I went from beginning to end without someone coming and talking to me, or the reception staff coming over and saying, I need you here for a second or whatever. It's so fucking difficult for me to train in here. But then I wouldn't change it for anything, man, because we're such a sort of like community, family-based gym, and that's the best part of this, isn't it? We all talk and share each other's opinions and help each other out. That's the best thing about training in a
I've made some good friends here. I mean, like if I think about my vocation with this and my journey with it, the support that I've had, like just naturally from people like yourself, like people that I've been coaching, like Tom and people that I've got friendly with, like Jim and Jim, both Jims. I couldn't be happier with where I spelled. You know that I moved house to live near this gym.
Yeah, man.
I did, yeah. Because let's not go down this path, but we all know that a few years ago there was a bit of nonsense going on that sort of made you think that if you attended the gym you might die. I wasn't convinced, so I still wanted to rely on a gym that would stay open. And my tenancy ended where I was living down near Baker Street. And so I moved house up here to be near this gym. So this is my local, and it's been fantastic to have so much support in my journey with this and making a career with it from yourselves. So I just wanted to put that in today's chat. That I really appreciate that, and
you know what?
It's not taken for granted.
That is literally the best part. Probably one of the only reasons why I bother, having a gym is just to watch people's journey like that. I get a kick from it, man. I swear. There's not really a massive financial reward to owning a gym. Yeah. There's a lot of fucking hard work with very little, reward. For me, the reward is that just seeing people's
Yeah,
journeys.
we
Man, I
would have
fucking
seen
love
quite
it.
some quite interesting journeys passed through here.
Yeah. It's been amazing.
There's quite a few characters that have been in and out of this gym for sure.
Over the years, definitely. But Sam, if anyone wants to hit you up, your coaching, check out your channels, tell us about the
main point of contact is physique. It's at Physique Philosopher on Instagram, and it's at Physique Philosopher on YouTube. The main point of contact, if you want to chat with me, is the Instagram account, so you can get through to DMing me on there if you want to ask about my services. But it's the basic online coaching where you get weekly check-ins and video recorded feedback on all check-ins and customized diet and measurements to make sure that you're on the right trajectory day to day, week to week, and contest prep if you want it, all that good stuff.
So yeah, hit him up if you want to get in contact with Sam. He's the man, he lives it, he's got the knowledge. I can tell you that for a fact. I've watched his journey, I've watched all his videos, they're fucking entertaining as well. I love it. Nearly every single one of them resonates with me, so yeah, it's really good.
I tried. It's the no bullshit content. If you want the truth about things, have a look on my Instagram and YouTube.
Yeah, no bullshit, for real, yeah. Donnie, anything you want to add?
There was a little bit, but
go
it's
on.
kind of late though, man. I wish I said it before.
Say it now then, go
it's
on.
almost all the way at the beginning that you said it.
How much
throw it
longer?
back in.
I'll
no,
talk
we
about
got-
it if you want. How long?
We've still got time.
We've got ages.
We've only been going 45 minutes. We've got
Oh, cool. Right.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
maybe that's like a nice kind of waypoint that we've got past the talking business stuff. Because I
Yeah,
don't
go on,
want to
so
be
let's
plugging things all
Let's get
day.
into the...
This is a proper stupid question. It's not even stupid, but it's like all the way from the beginning. All right, you said that when you started reading and stuff like that. That's how you got your knowledge and stuff like that. And I assume this was before big internet. Like it went as like
Yeah.
So what was you reading? Like,
Oh yeah, I'll tell you my favourite books because
that's what I'm interested. I'm interested to know how you got the knowledge that you got because you're very knowledgeable.
So I
obviously,
love
about
books. Like my favourite things in life are like books and music and knowledge. Right? So that's why I went with the name Physique Philosopher. Like
He has a
philosophy means
library.
love of knowledge.
You've got a library?
I've got a proper library. Yeah.
So wait. You lived in Baker Street. You had a library. Started to connect some things here.
Yeah.
You're
I'm Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah, no.
It's the real Sherlock.
I love books, and when I started this, the internet didn't have social media, and it didn't have YouTube, and it didn't have all this like content, as they call it now. So it was more books, and it was more hidden knowledge. You would have had to have moved in bodybuilding circles or read certain books to know what this stuff back then. But my favourite books that I learned. The first book that I really felt was like naughty hidden knowledge was the book Anabolics 2006 by William Llewellyn. And I bought that when I was like 18 or 19 years old before I'd even touched like any gear or anything. I saw it in a supplement shop in Peterborough and I was like, oh my God, look at this. Oh my God. What?
It's like a porno.
Yeah. Honestly, I had the same feeling as like when I first tried
like full boner.
That's another funny story. Yeah, when the first time I bought a porn mag was when I was like 12 years old on the French exchange, and I was shaking like a leaf. Like I was trying to buy like this Playboy special edition, like from a newsstand in Paris, like 13 years old. And when I got it, I was like, oh my God. I had the same experience when I was like 17 or 18 when I bought this book about steroids at a supplement shop. I felt proper nervous going up to the counter and they gave me a really weird look, but they still sold me it. And I sort of furtively got it back home and I read the whole thing cover to cover like, oh my goodness, this is how these freaks make their bodies.
So you got straight first. As soon as you got into it, you read all about.
Oh yeah. So I was never like hoodwinked by the fake natty thing. I knew what was going on from day one, and my eyes were open from day one. And I think that was one of the most important books I read. And then a lot of the stuff about the carbohydrate insulin hypothesis was extremely useful. So a book called Good Calories, Bad Calories by Gary Taubes is excellent. A book called The Obesity Epidemic by Dr. Zoe Harcum is amazing.
And after reading all that, when did you do your first cycle?
Oh, it was years ago. I did.
But after, say you said you got that book when you was 19.
So I did all that foundation stuff I was talking about for a few years, and then I had a little bit of an outing with testosterone, DECA, Supertrol, and stuff like that.
How old was you though?
Mid mid-20s, I think.
Okay.
That's the best age for the steroid cycle.
Yeah, and but I did 2 cycles, and then I stopped doing all of that, and I was not taking anything for like 8 years or something, and that made me eligible to do like natural bodybuilding, because the rules with like natural bodybuilding here, like UK DFBA and stuff like that, is that you've only got to have been clean for like 7 or 8 years or something, and then it counts as like natural again. And I thought. That's fair enough, because people, make mistakes or change paths and stuff like that. So I did that, and I did it fair and square by their rules until I got a couple of wins, and then I got bored again, and then was ready to start enhancement again, and I sort of just approached it all over again. But the other books that were really interesting around that were like Underground Steroid Handbook by Dan Duchesne. That's a really important one. The Male Hormone by De Kruif. That was a classic book from the 1940s. It was instrumental at the start of bodybuilding.
Wow.
What else is good? On the training side, I think the best book's probably Frederick Delavier's like Strength Training Anatomy series, Strength Training Anatomy Workout Volume 2. That's awesome. Arnold Schwarzenegger, Encyclopedia of Modern Bodybuilding is awesome.
When you read that first book, did you know from that point one day you was going to be doing this?
Yeah.
Did you know straight away? He's like,
yeah. But I waited my time. I waited my time. I held out for a good 5 or 6 years before like doing that. So I did still try and do it properly, and I did read all the other areas around the nutrition and training as well. So I feel like I did it properly. But yeah, pretty much. Yeah, because once you know what's necessary, and you know that you still like that and want to do it, it's just kind of like there you are, isn't it? But I think I must have read at least 50 books about bodybuilding, like in all of its aspects.
That's mad.
Nutrition,
That's a lot of books.
Yeah, and if you combine like any books that I've read about nutrition, I've probably done the most reading about nutrition out of every area of this. Yeah, then like hormones.
That's probably the most complex area to learn about, the diet and nutrition.
Yeah.
More than the hormones and stuff.
Yeah, the hormones I'd say is quite an easy. I mean, we've got a limited, finite amount of hormones out there in the market.
Well, it's forever expanding and changing.
Forever expanding, but I mean, at any point in time, there's. There are new hormones being synthesized.
Well, that's another project that I've got on the go. I actually I have a database that I'm constructing, trying to have an exhaustive list of every hormone and chemical relevant to bodybuilding, and there's rather a lot.
There is, yeah.
Yeah, that's a project I've got on the go, because I sort of thought that the best attempt at documenting it all is like William Llewellyn's books. But I know, even his latest edition has like loads of things missing that I would include in a sort of.
When you say a lot, how much do you mean? Sorry, I didn't mean to. How many? When you said there's rather a lot, how many do you mean? 20, 100, 1,000?
I would say there's a couple of hundred.
Oh, really?
There's a couple of hundred compounds relevant to bodybuilding, in my view. If you include all of the different
peptides,
there's at least a couple of hundred. If you include all of the different esters of the different hormones, all the different peptides, like all the different research chemicals, all the different SARMs, all of the different ancillaries, the SERMs, the aromatase inhibitors, like all the other ancillaries that are relevant, like blood pressure medications, PDE5 inhibitors, like everything, there's no clear cut-off point of the boundary of what would or wouldn't be relevant. But if I was going to compile, my database, and if I was going to turn it into a book or a product, it would have 200 to 300 items in it, I would say.
Yeah. You're gonna write a book?
I love books, so I'll have to write a book. Yeah,
that's good.
But I think that was right what you were saying there. But there is no clear cut-off point.
There's no clear cut-off. But the problem with books, though, is no one reads books these days, because
we live in a world
the shorter attention spans, and the people consume information via stuff like this, or they want to listen to podcasts on the move. And so I'll work with the other mediums that are out there, which is why I'm here today, partly. But I still love books. I still love something that is like a good reference guide and stuff like that. But then do people feel like they need books anymore when they feel like Wikipedia holds all the information like a reference thing? Like every like compound relevant to bodybuilding has a Wikipedia entry. already. So
Well,
does
and
that
there's
make, does
probably a
that
video
make
as well.
books on this sort of thing obsolete? I don't know. But then there's the personal experience aspect, and
Someone's probably made a video as well and just compressed it all into a 5-minute video anyway.
Just this morning, I had an inquiry and I sent someone my video explaining all about SARMs. I think my video explaining SARMs is the most thorough video on the topic on the whole internet. That was just on my YouTube channel. But I love knowledge, I love information, but that, applying it to whatever domain is the real value in it.
The experience.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
100%. That was my question.
Yeah, sorry, it was a really rambling answer, but those are the sorts of
That's good.
resources.
You gave us loads of reference. Like, I'll definitely have a look at some of them books as well. I'm interested now.
I'll send you my reading list. So I've got a free support group like on WhatsApp for people that may be interested in coaching in the future, and one of the free kind of gift products in there is a reading list. So I can send you my reading list, and it's basically what I consider the best books on everything relevant to bodybuilding that I know of. There's about a dozen books on the list, including some of the ones that I just referenced. But then, it's a time investment. And once people get that far, they're like, oh my God, it'll take me so many hours to absorb all this information, and time is money, and I'll just pay you for coaching then. I'm like, good.
Perfect.
More custom.
Yeah.
But I think that's an interesting point there, because it's a concept people sort of struggle to understand, that bodybuilding, if we go back to the basic principles, it's not just training, it is a way of life. There is 24 hours in a day, and bodybuilding is your whole life. It's a way of life, a never-ending lifestyle. For me, that's like the beauty of it, because there is no finish line. You're constantly trying to reach perfection.
Yeah, I think I think some people will always be dissatisfied with the results and always want more, when they should be grateful for what they've got. And I do know that this whole realm does have a lot of people with body dysmorphia in it, and I would never really want to feed into or encourage that. So for a lot of people, I'd say once you found the 3 or 4 steroids that suit you best, and you found the foods that you like the best, that work for you the best, and you found the way of training that you like, and it's producing results that you like, you don't necessarily have to learn any more. You can just keep doing what you know and what works for you.
Yeah,
because it doesn't have to be so complicated. Look, if you get on well with look what you could do with your physique if you were prepared to eat eggs, meats, any fish, a bit of rice and green vegetables, and you can sleep for 8 hours, and you get on well with testosterone, Winstrol, D-bol, and NPP, and you know how insulin works and stuff like that. You can do pretty much whatever you want with your body
pretty
just
much
from that.
better than,
can't you?
You're falling into the 1% category then.
Yeah, once you know all of that, and all of that is a finite amount of knowledge, if you just kept applying that again and again and again consistently, and that's how you like it, you'd have a physique better than almost everyone and be loving it.
That's what I mean. Yeah,
that's a finite amount of knowledge. There isn't too much to struggle
99% of bodybuilders or people that go to the gym, they actually don't have that knowledge there, and they're just kind of phasing in between, bodybuilding and just living life.
Yeah.
Knowledge is key, that is for certain. It is definitely a very important aspect.
Knowledge is power, especially when that knowledge is about naughty hormones like testosterone and trampoline, then it's definitely a lot of power.
Wicked. All right, I'm very conscious of the time. We've been about an hour now. Is there anything else you want to add into this, Sam?
I'm not sure. I think that I've really enjoyed the opportunity for a chat, have a laugh, get some information out there, talk about what this is really about, help people's understanding. I think that's all been good. I hope people like it. I'm open to questions online if people have anything to ask me about it. But I've enjoyed today, and just if there was anything else that you wanted to talk about, but I'll be getting back to work after this. Yeah. Getting back to people's check-ins. It'll be clients first. Go home, do some check-ins, then come back and train.
Wicked. What's your preferred time of training during the day?
Just whenever I can fit it in.
Whenever.
Yeah, whenever. I just sort of look after my clients first and then slot my training in. Because I'm not really trying to make my body any better. I'm quite happy with where it is, to be honest.
It's maintenance of the moment.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
When's your preferred time?
For me, it is definitely around the 1 o'clock sort of period. That's assuming, I woke up at about 7 in the morning, roughly, or whatever. got a good night's sleep, because then I get roughly about 2 meals in, and then I feel what my sort of optimal, you know, energy levels at around that time. But it could be at any time, honestly. I don't like training late at night.
Why?
Just energy starts to decline a little bit. But having said that, you can train sometimes and get the best work out of your life.
I like training just like maybe half an hour before I'm going to go to bed. That's what I like. I like going to the gym, going home, having a shower and going to bed.
Yeah.
It's perfect for me. It works the best.
And again, it depends which muscle group you're training. You know, if I'm doing quad focus legs under the squat rack, I think I'll probably do that, you know, midday. Whereas if I'm just having a little buy and try pump, I could do that at any point.
I think sometimes lately I found my best workouts have been where it's actually a struggle to fit it in, because then you're time limited, you're rushed, and it makes you more focused. So if I like slot it in before I go on a night out or something like that, I sometimes really enjoy it, and it lifts my mood for
And it would have to be a, you know, shoulder delt arm pumping.
Yeah, it's definitely not going to be legs that day. Is it?
Yeah. All right, Sam, it's been wicked, brother. 2 little things we do before we end the show. Give us it can be anything. It can be some words of inspiration. It can be something you live by, you know, a motto you live by. It can be literally anything you want to say. Catchphrase.
I think we've already had that. It was the, you know, one cycle never hurt anyone, and it's only one cycle if you never come off.
Oh yeah, that's
There's the catchphrase for you. We got
That's a good one.
Yeah, that's good.
And the final thing, you've fucking heard me say this a million times. You know, when I go, hey, come on, give us your, hey, come on.
Hey, come on.
Yes, Sam.
Was I doing it right?
That was good.
Okay.
Wicked, Sam.